guys, welcome back to another episode of From the Heart. I'm your host, Trca, and this is a podcast where we talk all things health, wellness, business, lifestyle, mindset, my faith, anything I'm walking through. I like to reflect and share it to you guys, kind of give you like big sister advice since I don't have any little sisters. You guys are my replacement for that. And today's episode really was stirring up in me over the past few days. Like I said, this podcast is always based on pretty much the week before, what God puts me through, what he teaches me. And I really like to sit down, reflect, and go through maybe some highs and some lows in my life and see what I learned, because if you really pay attention, there's usually like a life lesson in every single week, probably every day. But I feel like for me, it kind of goes in week intervals or increments. And this last week was so much fun. It was my birthday week just the other day. I turned 24. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, it was 24 things I've learned by 24. I'm pretty much just dropping all of my like life advice in that episode. It's a good one. It's packed full. Um, but I was traveling on a birthday trip with my boyfriend Kyler and my little brother Jake. We went out to Oregon and we were there for almost a week, and it was so much fun. I don't know. I don't know if it's spending a lot of time with like other people, or if it's traveling, being out of my comfort zone, or if it was like about my birthday. But this whole week it was kind of stirring up in me. I was also like in the thick of my luteal phase. So that was like kind of unfortunate timing, but I'm always a little more like emotional, sensitive, tired. And I was really fighting that. And I think that's what opened my eyes to this idea, this topic, this episode, because I didn't want to be like how I felt. Like I wanted to show up positive, fun, happy, like, all the good vibes, because it was my birthday week. We're on vacation. We're on a trip. I was with my favorite people ever. And I was like that, but there were definitely moments that I realized that I was maybe living in fear. And so that's where this episode is essentially rooted from. And it's about stop doing it afraid. Stop living life out of fear. One thing I like to remind myself, because I am a Christian, it's a quote that I saw and it was like, don't do it afraid, do it anointed. And I was like, wow, because that really gives you, I feel like, this like new internal strength and this new internal like confidence of being like, I am anointed, I am called by God, like he brought me here, so I can do it. I am equipped. A life motto I live by is like, he wouldn't bring you to it if he couldn't get you through it. So any opportunity, any door that's opening that is from God, like typically is when you should be walking through, whether in your flesh you feel prepared or not, whether it feels comfortable or not. I am a human that's like, I don't like to live in my comfort zone, but it is a battle for me to get out of it for sure. Like I if I live in my head too long, my anxiety can really stir up, and I do tend to live out of fear. I feel like, and I wish I wasn't this way, but I think some of you guys will relate, is like, I'm kind of worst case scenario thinker. I don't know if that's like the logical side of me, because I'm very logical when I think, but it's like worst case scenario. Like before I make a decision, I'm like, but what if? And I have to learn to let that go, because I think it controls a lot of my life. Because I do kind of walk through life in fear sometimes, a fear of like judgment of others, fear of like, if I don't do this, what will happen? Like thinking about repercussions. And I think that there's a good balance between that, because you obviously do need to like be logical about your decisions and think about them. But there also comes a point where it's like not great. So essentially what I remind myself is like, you don't have to keep doing it afraid. You can start doing it anointed. You can start doing it aligned. You can start doing it assured. Um, not because we have all of the answers, but because we are anchored in the person who does. Okay, I don't know everything, but I trust God and I know he knows what he's doing, and he can also make good out of any situation. So even if I do make a mistake, even if I do mess up, even if it doesn't go the way, maybe it was meant to, well, like God can he can fix things. He's a healer, he's a redeemer, like he can kind of course correct. And so it's like, regardless of the situation, like I know God will like work this out, and that gives me a lot of peace. I also have to understand too, when I'm thinking about a situation, before I make a decision, before I do something, again, like I just mentioned, very logical thinker, what if? But I need to kind of flip that narrative and remind myself of like, oh, the peace that it will bring. Like think about the pot. It's kind of like pessimistic, optimistic. Like, what am I going to gain by doing this, rather than what are all the scary pieces, all the unknowns, all of the uncomfortability and that, but think about like the benefit that it'll bring, the peace that it'll bring, the opportunity that it could bring. So trying to do things more with the mindset of like, how much peace will this bring me? What purpose is behind this decision? And I just remind myself the power that I'm walking through with God. So the first kind of like topic or point in this episode that I wanted to talk about is just how fear shouldn't be your fuel for decisions. I used to kind of, like I said, function out of fear. The only thing you should fear is God. But other than that, it's like live fearlessly because He is ultimately like your guide through life. And the thing is, like, life is still going to put you in positions where God's going to call you to like make bold decisions and take bold steps. But He doesn't call you to live in anxiety. And like anxiety is just such a real thing for me. Again, it's because it all, like, I guess, correlates and ties together, but I think that's where my anxiety stems from is thinking about, like, the what if scenarios. But, like, God does not give us a spirit of fear, okay? We're called to fear God, like, the wrath of God, but not to fear, not to live in fear, okay? And it's funny because sometimes we're doing the right thing, but like we'll have the wrong spirit about it. So that's why like your heart posture and your intention behind a decision is so, so important. And I think I personally have gotten better at checking my heart posture, being like, why do I feel this way? Why am I acting like this? Because there's always like a reason, like there's always like a root to it. And so rather than just like going through it blindly and just like getting through it, I like to dig deep and figure out why. Um, but like I said, sometimes we're doing it in the wrong spirit. So sometimes we're making these decisions and taking these steps and doing these things because we're trying to rush life, we're trying to force life, or we're like in that hustle, hustle culture, hustle mindset, or like trying to keep up with the Joneses. Don't feel like stress and anxiety. Like, don't live in that state of fear. Okay. Um, it's funny because I was kind of thinking about this and I was like, what's a way that I could kind of explain to you guys through my experience of like living out of fear. And it's funny because I actually thought about how I used to train. And this is interesting because I didn't realize I was doing this until recently. But I think when I used to exercise, I'm very, very consistent and I'm very disciplined. But lately, I feel like the last like 6 months, I've been more laxed in the gym than ever. Like this month, I've been home for 7 days. I have been traveling so much, and most of the time traveling, I haven't been working out, or if I do, it's something pretty minimal, an easy little 3 mile run or a long walk. Like the workouts haven't been that great, or if any at all. But I used to be so consistent in the gym, and this isn't healthy because I realized I was doing it out of fear. I was literally going to the gym because I feared, like, what if I didn't go? Like, what was on the other side of that? And I had this like anxiety and this fear. And that was my relationship with exercise. And that's why I overexercised and I trained all the time and I never missed a day because I feared so much of the outcome rather than shifting my perspective to like keep myself disciplined and excited and motivated to go to the gym. I I have it with the perspective of like, "Oh, what is this gonna provide me?" And on vacation and on trips and doing these things, it's like, "Oh, if I do just get up and go on a walk or I do get up and go on a run, like it's gonna give me this peace and it's gonna make me feel better. It's gonna give me more energy. It's gonna make my day just a little brighter. The endorphin rush is there." So it's like I'm not doing things out of fear anymore. And it also reduces like the guilt and the shame of like maybe missing a workout. Like I used to carry that. I no longer carry it because it's like if I can fill my cup up and provide peace and provide like energy and provide all these things with just doing my normal day to day, like it's okay if I miss a workout. Like it's not the end of the world. But I used to miss out a lot on life because of my fear rather than finding the things that exercise can provide in other areas of my life to still feel like whole without it. I think I idolize exercise a lot and so it's really interesting to see, like, I still feel fine. I still feel great. Do I want to kind of walk back in and get into a routine? Yeah, just because I do enjoy a routine. It just helps me like get through the day now that I'm like back home and settled a little bit more from traveling. But I don't operate out of fear anymore with exercise or even like with eating or whatever. It's like, what is this going to provide me? And I think of all the benefits, like the peace, the joy. Yeah. So that's something to think about. I want you guys to not operate out of fear because it's just like a very heavy feeling. The next thing I wanted to talk about, just the correlation between like having faith in like the timing of your life and trusting the timing of your life. Um, I think a lot of times as humans try to make things happen in our own strength. It's like it's on me and that weight is so heavy and that pressure is so heavy to think everything is like dependent on you. But the more that I've like grown my relationship with the Lord, it's like, okay, I have a lot of trust in him actually. And that like seriously takes a weight off of me. Like right now, I'm in the midst of moving. I've talked about this in a few episodes. I'm like a month out and I don't have a place picked out. I thought I was going to stay in my same apartment complex and just downsize. I'm actually not doing that anymore because things happened and I kind of felt like it wasn't. I'm not meant to be here anymore. And other places look more appealing and I'm more excited. And so I actually am touring places tonight, but it's like a year ago, I was having like a full on like crash out over this. Like I needed to know where I was living. I was trying to control every single thing. Again, we got to be proactive a little bit and a little responsible of like getting our ducks in a row. But like I'm not living in this constant state of anxiety and stress over where I'm gonna live like I have before. Cause I'm like, He's gonna open up a place. It's gonna be perfect. It's gonna work great. And like I've already seen like when I was touring the places around me, because I really wanted to stay in this area, nothing looked appealing. And I was like, you know what? Like nothing settled right. Like I just didn't feel called. Like, and not even to make this like faith based, but like I didn't feel called to go anywhere. I didn't feel like a pull. Like there wasn't a desire in any of the places I thought I would really like. Like there were just certain things, like I told you guys in that episode about like how downsizing isn't a downgrade. There were certain instances in every apartment that I toured that I was like off put by, very unsettled, like my spirit and just like the people, like it was just weird occurrences that popped out to me and really stuck with me enough to be like, no, like I don't want to live there. And then it's so funny because the area that I'm now looking at is near where my boyfriend lives and my brother, young adult pastors, just rented a house up there. One of our really good friend, like couple friends, actually two different couples are moving in that neighborhood. And I'm like, oh, like this makes so much more sense for me. It's gonna be so much more fun. And keep in mind, it's about half the price. And I don't have to downsize, actually. I could maybe even get a 3-bed for half the price. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's been really cool just to see how God kind of like closed those doors and didn't really make anything appealing. But I also didn't have to live in that state of fear because I trusted that God was going to provide. Like he was going to I just had to wait. Like I had to give it a few more weeks. And then all of these, like literally in the course of a 2 week span, I know 3 couples that just moved into that neighborhood from my church who are very good friends of mine. And then Jake and Kyler. I'm like, if I would have like signed and rushed and like tried to done things like in my own time, I would have like re-signed here. But like I just felt unsettled about it and I didn't do it. So it's like trust your discernment, trust that gut feeling inside of you when you feel like something's not right and give it a little bit more time. And again, like I only have like 3 or 4 weeks to kind of figure this out and like move. But again, I'm not stressed because I'm like, I know today when I go, like there's going to be a unit that I'm going to walk into and I'm like, this is it. I just know I have a knowing about it. There's like 2 or 3 different complexes I'm going to tour. And I'm not stressed. I'm excited. And it just makes life so much better when you like take the anxiety, take the stress, take the control out of it and just kind of flow. Just kind of go with life and trust God and trust like the timing of things. Like, yes, I need to be proactive. I need to make decisions. I need to do these things, but it's in a different spirit. You know, it's in like a confident spirit. It's in a peaceful spirit. And it just makes life more exciting. So essentially, learn to just let like the Holy Spirit, I guess, like lead your decisions. And this doesn't even have to be with like where you live. This can be in your business. This can be with school. This can be with your job, like anything. Don't let it lead with fear of missing out, okay? Or because they have it. I think a lot of people like even for this apartment, it was like I want to stay because I'm scared I'm gonna miss it. But it's like, think of all of the good, kind of tying it back to this like last topic we just talked about. Think of all the good that living by all my friends can provide for me and how nice it's going to be to not have a 25-minute drive to go see Kyler and my brother and now all of my friends. Like, we're all going to be together. Think of all the fun, like dinner nights or morning walks I can have with my friends or just all of the new opportunities that like relocating is going to bring to me. Okay. So, like, stop like holding on to what was like kind of your past. My pastor had a whole sermon on this last night and it was so good. But I think a lot of us like reminisce and live in our past because it was so good, because it's like something we know and we're comfortable with. And like the unknown is scary, but like think of all the great positive things that come into your life that you can't even predict, you know? So I'm like, I'm living in that mindset. But again, trust the timing, trust your gut. Don't live in a state of stress, okay? Also, to other people's timelines, they don't really matter, okay? I think we fear that I'm not gonna get married at the right age, or I'm not gonna have kids fast enough, or I'm not gonna do all these things. Like, God will make it work out, okay? He will in the right timing. There's so many things. If you're not to that stage yet in life, there's so many more things God has planned for you to prepare you for that and to live out now before you're at that stage of life for a reason, okay? Like maybe you're meant to like build a company or move across the country or start this business or invest into this or fill in the blank before you like have a family, have a kid, find a boyfriend. Like I know when I got out of my last relationship before Kyler, I was single for a long time and I was like trying so hard to date. I was trying to force it. But then now that I look back, I'm like, you know what? If I would have met someone and I would have just like settled and it would have just like worked, I think God kept putting barrier after barrier after barrier in front of every person that like I had even interest in, or just never like fit because I know myself. And if I would have met someone, I would have never moved to Arizona. There's literally no way. I would have been so comfortable and I would have never gotten out. But God had greater plans for me and He knew that would tie me down. So every time I tried, He had to kind of put a hard stop to it. But now looking back, I'm so grateful. So grateful that I was like single for maybe two more years than I wanted, or one more year than I wanted, because now I met Kyler, the literally most amazing, perfect human being I've ever met. Like he is like my person, and I would have never met him. And so it's like in hindsight, it's so easy to say, but the timing of everything is so, so important. And even like Kyler and I with marriage, everyone's like, when are you getting married? Like, when are you gonna have kids? And like Kyler's 26, I'm 24 now. It's like we're getting to those ages where those things happen. And rather than living in this like fear-based mindset of like everyone else in my life is getting married and getting engaged and having kids and doing all this, I don't live in a fear of like comparison or like missing out, because I know that's coming for me. It's just coming in a different season. And I actually have something else waiting for me within this next year of my life, that God has intended to be now rather than marriage yet. Okay. Like whether it's character development or it's career development, or there's so many things. And it's like, I don't even know. We don't know what we don't know, but like God knows. So I live in that peace of like, in the perfect timing, that season of my life will happen. I don't care when other people decide to do it. Like, I really don't, because I know, like, I just have a knowing and a trust with God that, like, He will provide that and make that happen in due time. I hope that's encouraging, even for like career or whatever it may be. I just don't want you guys to compare timelines, because I know that's a huge thing in the early 20s. But what I do encourage you guys to like kind of start to do, if you are having a hard time trusting in like God's timing or His plan, is to pray over it, pray over that relationship, pray over a future relationship, pray over your business, pray over your career, pray over if you feel like maybe called out of this like the state or the city that you live in. Um, Journal your goals, journal your plans, but submit it to God. So be like, God, this is like what I want. I did this for Kyler before I even met Kyler. I wrote out like my dream man and I prayed. I was like, I pray that I pray that I pray that he fill in the blank. And literally like a week or two later, I met Kyler. And so it's like, and Kyler is the list, and it's so crazy. But it's like you can do these things, but just understand that delay is not denial. Okay. Often, if not all the time, a delay is protection. Okay. It's kind of like rejection is redirection, delay is protection. So if you're delaying, God's protecting you from something, or He's doing it in a way, kind of like I was explaining earlier, that He's preparing something else. Like you can only cook one thing at a time, you know what I'm saying? So it's like He's cooking something right now. That thing, like that other idea, maybe is like on the back burner right now. But like wait, because it will come up, and it will be time to like cook, like let it cook. But not yet. And so just trust in that. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is learning to like live a wellness focused life without worry. I think a lot of times when we have all these, like, I don't want to call them rules, maybe like routines, but all of these things that we prioritize and we take care of our bodies, I think a lot of times we can get overwhelmed, especially with like traveling. So for me, I travel a lot, probably more than an average person, and I'm so grateful for it and I love it. But like old Chloe before, like literally high school Chloe, maybe early college Chloe, like I loved traveling, but it created this stress and this worry in me because I feared like, oh, what happens when I get out of routine? What happens when I'm in restaurants? What happens if I don't have my gym? What happens if I don't have my house or my apartment with everything I need? And I lived in this constant state of worry, even in this small area of my life. Like my wellness, which is a positive thing, it still was having negative effects because I wasn't able to be like present in my life. And I don't think it's healthy to be like stressing about like having your food with you or having your gym, and like just live life. Okay. Like you can still move your body, you can still eat right, you can still feel good, but it doesn't need to be perfect all the time. I feel like when people get out of routine too, it puts you into this really bad, like get back on track, try to fix it mindset. And that's not healthy because it's like training your mind to be like, what I was doing is a problem. What you were doing was just living life. Okay. You were like like you were in the moment, you were experiencing things, you were making memories. And I think that when you're older, you're gonna look back and be like, I'm so glad that like I enjoyed that trip. I'm so glad I was like present rather than like missing out on all these memories because you were working out. Still squeeze it in, but like it's not that serious, I guess. Like it's still okay to prioritize those things. I still do that. I pack some food with me sometimes when I travel, or I like get up a little earlier and go on a walk or go on a run or find a fun gym and like incorporate it into my trip, but like I don't stress on it. And if I miss a workout, oh well. Typically, most of the activities I do on trips are active anyways, because that's the life I enjoy. Wellness is supposed to also look like rest, okay? And recovery. And so sometimes that's necessary and we forget that. We forget that it's okay to just like let your body reset. Our bodies are not designed to be in constant stress. So rest is important and like it's okay if you get off track. Like it's not healthy for you if the repercussion of not doing it is creating like mental, physical strain. Like it shouldn't be that like idolized, I guess, in your life. Like again, don't get me wrong, it's really important to take care of your body, to move it, to be healthy. If you have supplements you need to take, do whatever. But like these 10-step routines, if you miss a day or two, like it's gonna be okay. You know? I just it's so funny because all of that kind of just like hit me on this trip because I feel like a lot of things in my life I was doing out of fear rather than like having the perspective of like, what can I gain by it? Like, what's waiting on the other side? What are the good things that I don't know that I don't know, you know? And it's exciting. I think it kind of gives you a hopeful perspective. And yeah, fear is just something you don't want to live in. Even if it's like your social life. I think a lot of times too, I'm a shy girl and like I used to live in fear and miss out on a lot of things because I was shy of like, what if like there's an awkward situation or an awkward silence or whatever. But like I was missing out on so much life because I was fearful of it rather than just like putting myself into a situation. And two, I always say exposure therapy works in those situations. So the more you go, the more you get connected, the more times you put yourself in a situation like that, you realize it's not that scary. It's kind of even like a fake it till you make it. I think too, like I was just talking to some friends at lunch literally right before this, and they were asking like how I got into social media and all this stuff. And they're like, it's so funny that you do what you do because you are like a more quiet, shy person. And I always tell you guys that I was like on a camera on social media. And I'm like, I know. It's kind of like one of those like fake it till you make it things. And I think I need to actually start applying that into my life more, like in social settings where internally, like, I maybe am shy, but it's like, I can just act like I'm not, and I think I'll train my brain to not because I don't wanna be shy. I personally, like, don't like that, like, I'm not offended when someone calls me shy because like, I know it's the truth and, like, I've said it, but, like, also I kinda claim it, so it's like maybe what you speak, it becomes your reality, so if I just start saying, "Oh, I'm super extroverted and super chatty and I'm not shy and whatever, I like attention," maybe I'll, like, learn to become that, but, like, right now that's not necessarily the truth. But I saw something and it kind of like sparked an idea, but it was kind of talking about like living in an alter ego. And I was like, not that I'm fake online, I'm very authentic, but like I'm much more like outgoing. And I think it's because I turn on like a camera voice or a camera personality and I'm more confident, I'm more loud, I'm more extroverted. And I'm like, why don't I just turn that on and put a little story? And it kind of like hit home in like a weird way, but this is actually really what started this idea of this episode. But when Jake, Kyler, and I were all at in Oregon, we were at a little ice cream shop, and like my little brother, he's an interesting guy. He's a character, okay? And he does not care what anyone thinks. And he's funny. We were waiting in line at this ice cream shop. It was so busy, like so busy. Sorry, honey. And we were in line, and Jake's like dancing and doing all these weird things, and I'm laughing, and Jake's like, just dance. And I'm like, Jake, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not just gonna start dancing in this ice cream shop. That's just not really me. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I kind of wish like I could just like be goofy and dance in line. And that was crossing my mind as Kyler was like, she doesn't have it in her. And he didn't mean this like in a rude way, but like there was a lot of truth behind it. Cause I'm like, I really don't think that's in me to like actually walk around and be like an idiot, like to be stupid and to like be funny and to be silly and be dancing. I'm more of a just like a chill, quiet person, maybe more like reserved. Um, and Jake's like, it's fun. Just don't care what people think and whatever. And I was like, dang, like I could essentially just take on that alter ego of like him and just apply it. And like maybe I don't know if this is making sense. This was not planned in this episode to share the story and share this, but it just kind of hit me because I was like, maybe if I just all of a sudden like put that on, it's almost like you get in a character. And then maybe I would realize it's not as scary and I could actually just do that without having to get a character. But like it's kind of exposure therapy. And I feel like maybe that's a way that I could like become less shy and maybe more like that. I don't know. But then again, maybe God made me the way I am for a reason. So I don't know. That's something I'm brewing and letting it simmer. And we'll see how I feel about that in a couple weeks. But I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here because now I feel like I'm like off my notes and we're rambling at this point. But I hope this helped. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Share this with anyone you think it could help, or share it to your stories. I always love to see that. It helps support the podcast so much and it means a lot to me. But I love you guys so much and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.